On top of that, Avila Chevalier's internet history threatened to bring down her campaign at various points. Old social media posts from a since-deleted account came back to light, including ones in which she advocated for abolishing the police.
There were 3 races, and we got to talk about those, where you were on a different side than Mayor Mamdani. And he said in the last hour to my colleague Chris Hayes that we saw last night was a rejection of status quo politics. What do you say to that?
Well, I was involved in 2 of those races, supporting my colleagues, Dan Goldman and Adriano Espaillat, and of course, I'm deeply appreciative for their service, to the country and the Congress. I was proud to stand in support of them, and if I had to do it all over again, I'd do exactly the same thing.
He's right about this. This has to be disrupted. They said the same things to me about Trump. I know he's a bad this, that, and the other, but he's right about this. That's what's going on here. Am I right?
100%. Absolutely. Here's the issue, though, in talking about what James Carville said. We can't afford a schism. We need the numbers. The entire problem has been, for the longest time, that the Democrats have gone after that disaffected 1/3 of Americans who could vote who don't, right? And those aren't the folks who came out to vote who delivered the election for Trump. It was the swing voters. And so those are the people who the Democratic Socialists are picking up. They're the disillusioned ones who said, my vote isn't going to matter anyways. You're not going to scare me into voting by telling me that Trump is going to make things worse for everybody.
Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of The Conservative Libertarian. All right, guys, we got another video for you guys today. We got AOC talking about the New York Democratic primaries with Jen Psaki. Okay, yeah, it's gonna be a very funny one to listen to, and we're gonna see how AOC copes. Which I don't think she's even coping. I think she actually likes the fact that the socialists are actually starting to win in her party. You know what I'm saying? That actually gives a signal to her because she's also a socialist as well. So this actually is a signal for her that her movement has traction in the Democratic Party. We're gonna see her take on it and everything and see what she has to say about it. Let's get right into it.
Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Congresswoman, thank you for being here with me tonight.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Let me start by just a lot of people, not just in New York, but across the country, there have been a lot of takes, shall we say, are trying to make sense of what the elections meant, what they mean for the Democratic Party. What do you think they mean?
I think that these elections mean, of course, they are reflections of the constituencies and communities that elected them and that rendered them. And I can say absolutely, at least in the city of New York, voters are just really ready for a Democratic Party that stands for something and has a very strong agenda to make our lives easier, to tackle corruption, to lower costs, to make healthcare a right for every American, to raise wages, to make unionizing easier in the workplace. And they want to make a forceful statement in how badly they want to see us fight for that. And I think that in any robust year for Democrats, I believe you're going to see an expansion of a party and a deepening of our commitment. And so I actually think that these results are a very good sign for November. To your point, when I was elected in 2018, an election like mine, where voters were willing to really, trade in someone that was supposed to be the presumptive next Speaker of the House in my predecessor, and trade that in for also a Democratic Socialist, a new organizer at that time. I think that is actually an indicator of places in other parts of the country willing to elect Democrats, even if the politics are not the same, even if those communities don't align with those same exact agendas. They are willing to take a chance for a better future. And so I don't think that people should be seeing this as a zero-sum game. I think they should be seeing it as encouraging for November.
Hell no. Yo, I'm telling you, she's hyped. You can see it in her face. She's hyped. right? She wants the socialists to win over the Democratic Party. She wants to be the new leader. She wants Zohar Madami to be a new leader, right? She don't like Hakeem. Let's be serious. She does not like Hakeem Jeffries. I don't think anybody in the Democratic Party really likes Hakeem Jeffries. They only tolerate him to oust him, you know what I'm saying? Which I don't, his his election isn't up yet, you know what I'm saying? I think he still has like maybe 2 more years, maybe going into 2028, going into the election cycle, going in that way. Maybe he'll get primary then, but yeah, like she does not seem discouraged by this. She seems actually very happy. You can see it on her face. She looks, you know what I'm saying? She looks confident.
It's interesting because even in the state of New York, and you alluded to this, I mean, Michael Lasher, you probably don't share every opinion or position with him. You definitely don't share every position, I don't think, with Richie Torres on a number of things. Both of them won in primaries that night. I mean, Michael Lasher in a very competitive one. Do you think this is because, and I just played some of what people on the right wing are saying on television, that this is an over-torquing of the rise of democratic socialism and not enough of a focus on the broad people who won? Or how do you see that? Because you're a democratic socialist yourself.
I mean, I think that the one thing that we know is that the Republican Party's brand is fear. And they have to constantly churn what they want people to be afraid of socialists, to be afraid of immigrants, to be afraid of women, to be afraid of, they constantly want Americans in fear of somebody. Because if you are not afraid of someone who is your neighbor, you're going to realize who's actually pickpocketing you. And that is the large corporations that are engaged in profiteering and jacking up your prices for no good reason. It's going to be in this administration that is engaged in record levels of swindling, thefts, tariffs, your housing. And so this is kind of their new thing of the day. But I think that people are feared out. I think that everyone's nerves are shot in constantly being taught and told of what country, person, community to be afraid of. And they just want a solution. They want their groceries to be more affordable. They want to figure out how we're going to get health care. They want our housing to get under control. And I think that we're ready for an affirmative vision and we're ready for an affirmative agenda.
These people don't actually have a plan, bro. Like, he sounds good. This is the thing. Like, they sound good when they talk, right? But all you have to do is look at their own states and see how their own policies that they support and that they've signed into legislation into their cities, their states. All you have to do is go look at their states and go see. What they are implementing does not solve shit. If anything, it causes more issues. That's the thing. They want to talk about jobs and wages and stuff like that. How can we solve jobs and increase wages when you're importing the third world? Because now we have to account for immigrants who came into this country legally or illegally. We have to worry about these people. Make sure they have Medicare. Make sure they have housing. Make sure they have food. Make sure they have all this other shit. The Americans who were here, who were born here, who don't have those same amenities. They don't have healthcare. They don't really have, you know what I'm saying? Like, most people don't even have, a good enough viable dentist insurance. You know what I'm saying? Most people can't even afford going to the dentist or going to the healthcare. So it's like, what is the sense of importing tens of millions of people into the country to be able to do that, right? And they have all these grandiose ideas, but once you put it down on paper and then you actually implement it and you try to implement it, it doesn't actually work. It causes a shortage of housing, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. You said, you never hear these guys talk about regulation. You never hear about these guys. You never hear them talk about crime. You never hear them talk about anything that actually is going to drive down fear, right? You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure people aren't fearful, right? Well, you're not doing the necessary things to drive down fear. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you're doing is putting a Band-Aid on things and saying, we will address it later down the road.
You talked about this week kind of how the fear-mongering, you had deja vu, I think is how you described it. And you just alluded to that and what you just said now. What advice are you giving or would you have for these new members who are coming in and are already being painted in a certain way? And I want to talk about them too, but what advice do you have for them about how to get things done while still shaking up the system at the same time?
Yeah, I think New and incoming members have no shortage of advice that's being given to them.
Well, but you lived it.
Yes,
you
yes.
lived it in a very different way.
Yes, and I mean, I'll get to them, but I actually think the more important advice that I would give would be to my incumbent colleagues.
You see where they have that D right there? They need to change that D to a DS.
And if you are already panicking and sending little messages in your group chats about how these people need to be reined in and tamped down and shown their place, you are creating the antagonistic dynamic that we do not need. These are two young, talented, intelligent women that got elected against all odds, against millions of dollars. Perhaps there is something we can learn from them.
The people chose them.
They always want to put the women emphasis on front of it as if that gives them any more, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, they're women, so we have to care more about that. It's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, what the hell? Like, all politicians are the same, right? It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, right? You know what I'm saying? So I hate when they do that shit. No, we do have a problem with what you say. Like, like, same way how Democrats want to be like, oh, Trump's always saying racist things and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, oh, so we can't call out when you say we want to abolish ICE, we want to you know, tax billionaires over 10%. You know what I'm saying? We want to you know what I'm saying, freeze the rent. You know what I'm saying? Like they have all this bullish ideas. Oh, don't forget, you know what I'm saying? You can't be a Jew supporter either. You can't be for Israel. You know what I'm saying? You can't be for AIPAC, can't be for Israel, right? You know what I'm saying? So that already right there is a disqualifier. I just don't understand. Like, you know what I'm saying? I get it. She's trying to defend her colleagues, you know what I'm saying? People that she wants to represent as Democratic Socialists, but you have to also contend with what they're actually saying. And they're saying some outlandish shit. Some of them have deleted their tweets from what they've said before. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? They might win on a city level and a state level or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? When it comes to the midterms and a national level, bro, we're gonna have to really see whether or not these guys really have any steam up there back pocket, bro. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below, whether or not this was an L or a W. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. We do this shit every day. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.